What's up everyone, this is Takai, and in today's video I wanted to talk about social media and how I think social media is making us forget about the creative process. So in the social media world, we're constantly being shown people's highlight reels that took them years of effort to attain, or the person that only cares about the recognition and doesn't actually care about getting good at the thing that they're being recognized for. When we only care about the recognition aspect of the things that we do, then we start to pay less attention to the most important aspect of all, the process. The process is the unglamorous, the frustrating, and often boring part of doing just about anything. But the process is something that requires discipline, and something that requires discipline and that is done every single day is something that builds character, it builds your mindset, and it builds your skills. But when you're only focusing on the recognition aspect of the thing that you're doing, or focusing more on wearing the label of the thing that you're trying to be, then you start to become more focused on the label and the identity of that thing itself, as opposed to focusing on actually just doing the thing that you're trying to do. I think we all know somebody who goes to the gym only once and all of a sudden they start calling themselves a lifter, or someone who steps on a skateboard once and just cruises around the block and all of a sudden they're calling themselves a skater, or somebody who buys their first camera and starts calling themselves a filmmaker. From my personal experience, I feel that the reason why we do this is because we're not comfortable in our own skin and we lack self-awareness. So we tend to attach ourselves to these labels because it gives us external validation. We tend to identify ourselves with these labels because these labels is what gives us value. But when we attach ourselves to these labels without actually doing the thing that we're labeling ourselves as, the people that actually do it for real will be able to know right away that you are a fake. And as a result, wearing that label is going to bring you more pain than pleasure. When I was using social media much more frequently, it always gave me the feeling of falling behind because of how frequently I was being shown people's highlight reels. And it always gave me the sense that I needed to catch up. So instead of focusing on creating things that I was passionate about, I was focusing more on creating content that just showed me off. It became more focused on just clout building. And it wasn't something that was actually bringing any real value to the people that were watching it. And in reality, I wasn't really doing anything really that special, or at least something that wasn't really that special to me. So it made me realize that it's important to not pay too much attention to what everyone else is doing, because it's not always going to be an accurate representation of what the reality is, because it's always easy to remove the negative narratives of whatever it is that you're posting online. When you're being shown people's highlight reels too frequently, then it can give you the impression that the progress that you're making is moving too slowly. But things started to really change for me when I started to look at my growth and my progress in yearly increments instead of daily increments. Think about yourself 1 year ago from today. Where were you at financially? Where were you at mentally? And where were you at in your career? Chances are you today is a lot further than you were from 1 year ago. And if yourself from 1 year ago were to see the progress that you've currently made now, they might be pretty impressed with the progress that you've been able to make in a year. Let's take it a step further. Imagine yourself 5 years ago from today. Chances are there's a very night and day difference between where you're currently at versus where you were then. And there's a pretty good chance that where you're currently at now is a point that you from 5 years ago may be struggling to get to. So you from 5 years ago is going to look at you from now, and they're going to be pretty stoked at the progress that they were able to make in 5 years. And if that's something that you can't actually say about yourself, then that's something that you need to fix. Compare that to looking at your growth in terms of day by day. It's going to be a lot harder to see any significant growth in that short amount of time. So when I started to look at my growth in terms of year by year instead of day by day, it really helped me gain an appreciation for the growth that I've already experienced, as opposed to fixating over where I'm at versus where I want to be. Real growth is really just the accumulation of tiny mundane tasks that we do every single day for a long period of time. Growth is a lot like an hourglass. If you were to just sit there and stare at it and watch it grow, it's gonna take forever and you're gonna get very impatient with it. As opposed to if you just don't pay attention to it and just go live your life and do the things that you normally do every day, when you come back to it, you're gonna see that it's filled up in what you perceive to be a lot less time. So in terms of your life and your growth, treat it a lot like the hourglass. Don't just sit and stare at it and wait for it to fill up, because you are going to go crazy, you're going to get impatient, and you're going to do whatever you can to try and make it fill up faster. Instead, just let it be, go do your thing, go do the daily tasks that you need to do to move yourself forward, and do it without the attachment of the end results, the recognition, or the finish line. 1 year from now, with that mentality, you're going to come back to your hourglass and you're going to see that it has filled up a lot faster than you originally perceived it to.